Exclusively for Spin Alt on Spin Southwest, my name is Ray Wingnut and I'm here in the amazing Guerrilla Studios under the Dart Line just north of Connolly Station in Dublin City, and I'm here with FIXITY. That's a jazz combo made up of musicians from Malmo in Sweden and Cork in Ireland. We have Dan, we have Emil, we have Frederick, and we have Niels. All right, good stuff, lads.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah.
All right, thanks a million for being here.
Thank you.
Nice one for having us in.
Yeah, you were playing a gig last night. How'd you get on?
Good crack. Yeah, it was good. We haven't played together, like us four, since February. So it was really good to kick out the jams, like.
All right. So the last time you played together was when you recorded the album, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us the name of the album and tell us a bit of the backstory behind it, so please.
So it's called The Things in the Room, and that's one of the tracks off the album. And we recorded it in Malmo in February. I went over to Malmo to go on holidays, and Emil was like, let's play a gig, you know, which is like a nice thing to do when you go on holidays. And then I had been making this stuff under this FIXITY name, and I was putting out a tape on Can't Cope. So then like I had this music, and I thought I was going to play some like jazz or something when we got over there. But Emil was like, no, we'll play all your music. I have a band ready, you know. So that was... And then we played in Emil's apartment. They just put on like the gig. There was like 4 bands in there. And we'd rehearsal that morning, played that evening. And then Mans Wickamo, who works at Tambourine Studios, his engineer, was playing in one of the bands that night. And he was just like, come into the studio tomorrow. Like, I've got some time. So I'll come in and I'll do a session fee, which was pretty sound, like.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, I was like, yeah, cool. Like when Emil was like, let's play your music. And then when Mans was like, come into the studio, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, you know.
Okay.
It was pretty like.
That's brilliant. So you had original,
out, like, you know.
Yeah, you had original compositions.
Yeah.
And Emil, you jumped on it. But how did that meet up? How did that happen? You were in Cork?
Yeah, I lived there 5 years ago, and I met Dan there. And then, yeah, it's sort of, you know, you want to catch the moment when he comes to Sweden, sort of, you know, and play regional music instead of just, you know, hanging around playing jazz that no one notices. You know, make something out of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what was the story? What brought you to Cork and what were you doing there?
Well...
And what year was this as well?
I was chasing a girl, actually. You know, my girlfriend now, I found in Cork.
Nice.
We moved there together. And, moved from place to place, trying to get into the vibe in Cork and go to all the venues. It's a totally different thing than in Malmo. There's music at maybe 3 or 4 venues a day here in Cork. Back in Cork. In Malmo, there's bigger venues, but they're less creative places for young people.
Wow. So what kind of stuff did you find in Cork?
Well, we went to a lot of gigs in Galt, where Albert works, in Triskel, and then in Crane Lane, and Fred Zeppelin's, and Unreal Derg, when that was on. And upstairs in the Roundy, the Pav was still going on then. It was good. Yeah, and up in, what's the street? McCurtain Street. Good places there as well. The Corner House there, some good folk sessions there as well.
Awesome. Well, it certainly sounds you got busy in Cork. That's absolutely brilliant, you know. So you're obviously somebody who's got a great level of musical curiosity. And had you jammed with, and I presume you would like to, did you go to school together or how did you know each other back in Malmo?
Yeah, we went to school together in Malmö. And Emil just phoned us and asked if we wanted to play with Dan at Emil's apartment.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Awesome. So you played. That's what I'm just looking for the facts.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know. So that's awesome. So you played a gig in the apartment. This guy, Mr. Magnuson. Mons.
Yeah.
All right. He hooked you up with a studio.
Yeah.
You headed to the studio the next day.
Yeah.
And is that the recording that's on the album?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
It's the first take of everything. Like we were in there for an hour, like playing. Well, we were in there for like 3 hours, but we played for an hour, and the record is an hour long.
Okay, that's brilliant. And of course, like so we're talking here about it's all about collaboration, really.
Yeah.
Now, musical collaboration, is that something that you find is easy, that it comes natural, you know what I mean? Or is it something that that you found when you were playing that gig in the apartment, they were like, hold on a second, there's something really interesting going on here. There's something that's exciting, and it's something that obviously not only yourselves, but other people observing were like, hey, this is worthwhile. Let's get to the studio.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, and then Albert Toomey back in Cork is like, let's publish an album. You know what I mean? So like the collaboration, when it comes out like that, did you know that it was going to be exciting and interesting, or was it something you discovered in the moment?
I think like the way that it happened was like Emil like chose two people that he like knew would understand kind of like the kind of approach that I was looking for, I suppose, which is actually really like, it's as inclusive as it can possibly be. Like everybody's entitled to make as many decisions as anybody else, you know, and they have the trust of their like, and of the other three musicians. So like it's, and then you can create a conversation, like, you know, so once you actually aren't like second guessing each other and you're like, there's just respect, then you can do whatever you want, like, you know, and it's just kind of, and like people, you know, you kind of need people that are really present, like to play stuff like this. So you want to have to just like, you want to be able to just jump straight into it, you know, like with this music, like I was making it, like I was writing the music on my own, like recording it on my own, and then but like in my head it was a band of people that were individuals, like, you know, and I just, you know, I can only play guitar like I play guitar or whatever, so it sounds a certain way. And then you give the music to other people and give them the same rules that you gave yourself, like the same freedoms that you gave yourself when you're writing. Then like you invite people in, you know, instead of like having it where it's like a dictatorship or something, you know, because I don't really enjoy that like as much. I just prefer to like for everybody to like get as much out of it as they can, you know, because then you learn from everybody, you know, because they're gonna like throw something at you that you had no idea they were gonna do, and you're just like smiling instead of like shocked and uncomfortable, you know. So it's just like being just kind of trying to be aware of like everybody's like tastes are just as like welcome, you know. So whatever they hear and they think the music needs, that's like everybody's on for it, you know. Yeah,
and like and that's a really nice philosophy and stuff like that. But I mean, when you're at the gig last night, then you know it can lead to quite an intensity, like, you know what I mean. There's an intensity to the music. It's not all just free form and falling apart. You know what I mean. It like, you know, it is a strong collective thing, like, you know.
And I think we keep each other on the toes all the time, you know. In the music, you can never rest in it. You never know what's gonna happen. Someone can, you know, take it in a certain direction, though the beat is still going, sort of, you know, keeping the energy there. And then you have to, you know, seize that moment when Nils is doing something, and then just hang on there, like. And that's why it's so, you know, 2 of those gigs on one day is really, it's much energy-wise. But like the question you said before, it felt like we had when we did the gig in Sweden, was it Friday evening or something? Yeah. And then when we went into the studio, it was the 3rd time we ever played the music of dance. And for me at least, I don't know about you guys, but it felt like there was a moment there in the studio that we hadn't gotten before.
Mm. Yeah.
Can you describe it, Niels?
No, it was just, I think I didn't know what to expect from the music before I met Dan, and the gig was really good, and then everything happened very fast with the recording, and the studio is really nice. So I think we all were very happy about that. And then after playing 2 times together, I mean, the 3rd time was even better. We got to know each other better. So it was a lot of happiness in the music, I think, and a lot of positive energy.
Awesome. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But so, of course, like, so is it always evolving? Is like every time you sit down, is this like, let's say you played a gig last night, you're going to play a session for us now, you're going to play a gig later. Is it going to change? Is it going to keep evolving and stuff like that? That's the nature of it, isn't it?
Can I ask you a question?
You can, of course.
Do you ever feel the same at different times of day?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Like I
the
get up and I
exact
feel a
same,
bit tired.
like with the same stuff going around in your head, like exactly the same stuff.
No, of course not.
Me neither.
Yeah. And so and I think that's really interesting. What, like, I mean, because with improvised music, you know, I was thinking about this before I came to interview you. Was like, you know, when people talk about a creative process, and they say it starts with an idea, and they try and execute an idea, and then whether it works or not or something, you know, just even like exercising, putting an idea into action is a huge thing. But with improvised music, basically it's like that. Aren't you like, you're looking for gold, you're looking for a moment, you're looking for something that's just kind of transcends or captures a moment or whatever it is, you know what I mean? You can use all the flowery language that you want to. I mean, like, what is it like when you leave a studio or you leave a session like that? Like does it vary? Is it like, oh, I think we nailed it that time, or oh, I think we left it after us that time?
I think that's sort of a, you know, the curve of the music. It depends on what's happening. You can't force the curve of the, you know, the energy. Like last night, for example, Fredrik was doing an initiative in one of the songs that force the curve to, you know, expand, and therefore, like, sometimes when we play that song it could be half as long because that initiative doesn't come. You can't force the song to become, you know, to grow. If it doesn't grow, it has to happen something. That's why this music, it always changes, because it's depending on, you know, the mood, and since it's only, the structure is so loose, it's a strong melody, but then the structure is being shaped by, you know, the moment, sort of, you know.
Yeah, so there's meeting points, like, where we can meet up and stuff, like at the melodies, and the structure of the music is like, it's just like so that we can, you know, it's like each tune sets up a different scene, and then we just walk around like for ages, or run or whatever, do whatever we want in there. And like, I think usually, like, after I play music in this way, it doesn't matter if it was good or not. Once I was like really in, you know, like, it doesn't matter, like a good gig is a gig that like sometimes it's a gig that was like just freaks you out, you know, and there's so many different versions of that's like, if you feel a bit freaked out after a gig, sometimes you're smiling, like, sometimes you need to just go and like sit down in a quiet room, like, you know. But it's like, you know, if you're really there and you're really like listening as hard as you possibly can, and you're as present as you possibly can be, then it doesn't matter, kind of doesn't matter what it sounds like, even, like, once you're all communicating, like, you know. But of course it does, because music is the objective, like, but the first thing is like to remember that it's people playing music, you know, like, it's coming out of people. So like, once there's something happening between the people, then the music is good, you know, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
Yeah, and so you describe it as feeling freaked out. Let's say I want to get freaked out by the moment, or by the collaboration, or by the noise that you make.
Just like, if like living really as intensely as possible for like 45 minutes, you know what I mean? Like, and experience as much as you can, and paying as much attention as you can. Yeah. Because like, after that, then you go back to, you know, real life, like, or whatever. You know?
How would you describe it as? Would you describe it as you want to get freaked out? Do you want to? Do you have a word for it? Do you have an expression for it?
It's hard. I get very excited by the connection between us. So that's what I'm looking for all the time. And maybe I hear something that Dan is playing, and I try to do something that counteracts. Or what do you say?
Yeah, you can like disagree or agree, you know. If a conversation is good, then you're comfortable like saying like, oh no, I think you're wrong there, but like, let's keep talking, like, you know. Same rules apply, like.
Awesome, absolutely brilliant. So let's talk about your record label, Penske Recordings. So the album's out, it's a double vinyl. Yeah. Penske Recordings put it out. How did that come about?
when I came back, like Mans sent on the mixes, and then I just sent them to a lot of people I knew. It's just kind of like, or like a handful of people that I knew, like just friends of mine and like heads, like whatever. Just be like, check this out, made this. It's kind of cool. Pretty excited about it. And then Albert got back like really dramatic email, like going like, the world needs to hear this, like. So I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, and yeah, he's like.
You freaked him out.
He's helping like some lad.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, so listen, we're going to have a session now, right? So I don't know how we're going to describe it. I don't know. After all that intro, there's no point in me introing it. But listen, FIXITY, it's brilliant to have you here in Guerrilla Studios.
Nice one.
And yeah, let's do it.
Cheers, man. Nice one.
Thanks.
Thanks.